Welcome to the Millennial Network Podcast. Now your host, Coach Danny Renee.
What's up, y'all? Coach Danny Renee, and this is the Millennial Network Podcast. Today, I decided to do something a little different. I think I'm gonna start throwing in these individual lessons and stories and different things like that, because I feel that I got some things to say as well, on top of bringing guests in. And I wanted to kind of introduce you guys today to who am I? Who is Danny Renee? Why Coach Danny Renee, right? So I wanted to focus today on telling my story, because I feel like your story, everyone that's listening, is your story is very powerful, and you need to be comfortable with telling that story. Being vulnerable is being human, and there's so much fakeness out on the internet. There's so many people pretending to be just people that they're not. And the downside about trying to pretend to be people you're not is that you got to kind of keep that up. And then when you kind of go against who you're saying that you're not, it collides, right? It sometimes puts people in depression, stress, anxiety, or even things worse. So I kind of want to share my story, and hoping that you guys, from learning from my story, are comfortable telling your story. So obviously, it's the Millennial Network Podcast. I am a millennial. I do truly believe in networking, because in order to get to where you want to go in life, and just where some of the places I've been in life has truly been networking, sometimes unorthodox networking, right? So let's see, where do I start? So a coach, obviously, I was on the receiving end as an athlete. Like, I grew up my entire life playing sports, and just one of the things that I remember hearing from even grade school is that a coach was just like, you got a lot of heart. And obviously, as somebody in grade school, I'm like, what does this dude mean? I got a lot of heart, right? And then as I got older, I understood exactly what he meant, because I kind of took every time, like when it came to playing sports, like I put the same amount of energy. Like I would play the sport, like I'll go to practice, and then I will always come home, and then I'll just really be practicing. So just going back, I'm born and raised from Detroit, Michigan, now currently live in Alaska, but growing up in Detroit, Michigan, had both of my parents in my life, 5 brothers, and one of the things is my mom was just so big on education. The typical, kids go to school, get good grades so you can go to college. So my mom really pushed that. We really focused on education, and she just really pushed like us staying out of trouble. Whereas my dad, we call it in Detroit, he was a hustler. Like, he, not like the native hustler, but he just knew how to go out and make money. And then it got to a point where he wanted to control his finances, and he was always big. Him and my grandma, they were always big on like saving your money, being smart with your money. Because obviously, as a kid, like, our only money really came from like allowance and stuff. Or my mom would have this thing, she would like, if you got an A on your report card, you get like $5. If you got a B, you get $4, and vice versa, right? Really, they only focus on the A's and B's. So I don't know, I guess at a young age, I knew they put a reward system out there for us, is that if we do certain things, that we'll get reward. Obviously, there was the disciplining side too, right? If you don't do it, you get disciplined. So as a kid, I'm like, I'm gonna choose between getting rewarded. So basketball was my first love. Being short, 5'2", it didn't really give me too much of an advantage, but basketball was my first love. And that's where I learned hard work, is that I would really just go out there and put in the time. And then even on off season, like, I would really put in the time. But unfortunately, I just was better at track. I was faster at track. So ended up running track, high school, broke my school record. I should still have the record. Ran an 800, 1500 mile. That was kind of like my events. That's what I was good at. But even in Michigan, like, track wasn't really that thing. It wasn't a big deal in Michigan. I mean, maybe basketball, hockey, football. So no one really put in effort. So I knew I had potential. Fast forward, join the Air Force. My recruiter lied his butt off. for whatever reason, I thought I was going to join the Air Force and get this easy job, like in medical or something. I think they even had a video job or something. But and I was hoping to get stationed in California because I just had this passion of movies. So obviously growing up, my dream was going to the WNBA or the Olympics running track. But even though that didn't happen, I was like, I got this passion for movies. I want to make movies. So join the Air Force, hope that with joining the Air Force that I would get any of the bases out in California or near California, right? Well, come to find out, that was not the case. I got the job. I did not want to work. I ended up, we call it security forces in the Air Force, which is military police. So I was a military police officer, y'all. So I got that job and I was just like, oh my God. Like when I found out, I was like, yo, I want to go AWOL. But obviously I didn't, but I was just so shocked. On top of that, y'all know I just said I wanted to go to California, right? Well, they stationed me in Alaska. So first I remember when they gave us like our duty station, they was like, what did you get? And I was just like, what does this say? I was like, AK, Arkansas. Who want to go to Arkansas? Like, what's in Arkansas? And then I remember somebody leaning over was like, nah, that's Alaska. And I was Alaska, like, do people really live there? Like, obviously back then, times wasn't as technical or technology was really developing like with YouTube and stuff like that. So my only vision of Alaska was Eskimos and people living in igloos and it just being super duper cold. And like, do people really live there? Like a remote place, and then come to find out Alaska was actually pretty dope. Very beautiful. It is extremely cold in the winter. You do have those long hours of darkness and long hours of sunlight. I think I was in Anchorage, Alaska. So the most amount of sunlight I would get like in the December would be 4 hours, which low key is really depressing, which I don't know what it's like now, but they had the highest like suicide rate because of just how high depression is. So saying that to say, y'all, sunlight is very important. If you're stressing out in life, go get sunlight. If you feel like you're depressed, go for a walk in sunlight. That stuff makes a difference. That vitamin D makes a difference, right? So, and then it would be the reverse in the summer where you may get at max 4 hours of darkness. I remember one time we had a barbecue and that barbecue, the food got done at midnight, but we didn't know it was midnight because it was light out. So like that was some cool experiences. So I ended up getting Alaska. Needless to say, I got out of the Air Force. I was trying to choose in between where I wanted to go because I knew I wanted to make movies. And at the time, Atlanta was on the rise. So moved down here in Atlanta. I was so young and motivated. I worked on everything I could possibly get my hands on. It was like people had a camera. I didn't know if they were good or if they were some kind of C-level celebrity. I didn't know. I was hungry and I wanted to learn. So I ended up making connections on top of connections to where I was working on different projects. And then I learned a lot and I ended up buying my own equipment. But on top of that, while I moved to Atlanta, moved because I went to Georgia State University. You see it back there. Went to Georgia State University and I studied film. I also ran track. Ended up winning our conference championship. And then I got injured. So it's just like, okay, sports, me and injuries. I've had 3 surgeries in my life, y'all. So that kind of shows you it's like, oh, you need to really change your focus. So everything was definitely had to really change. So then I ended up going to school, study film. I ran track. When I finally graduated from college, I couldn't find a film job. Like nobody was hiring me because I didn't have experience. And then I didn't know about the different departments in the industry. So I went to Orlando, got a little bit more hands-on experience by going to another school, which they actually shot production. Did 1 semester and I realized I was like, I ain't getting no hands-on. So I got a job in Afghanistan, where Afghanistan, it gave me more hands-on experience, or not hands-on, but I did photography and video in Afghanistan. So like different things, kind of almost like a reporter almost, but like on base where different events was happening. I would have to capture like the photos and videos for them and kind of like write about it. I think I even met the prime minister. I met the prime minister in Afghanistan. So that was pretty cool. But anyways, fast forward, ended up losing that job, got fired. I ain't gonna lie, I got fired, which I was okay with because I remember a week prior to me leaving out of Afghanistan, it was like explosions and stuff. And it wasn't what I was told it was going to be. So, a hostile environment, it wasn't for me. So came back, I was like, I'm working in the film industry if I'm down to my last dollar. Y'all, I started cold calling any and everybody. I somehow got the phone numbers of people that had some kind of hands-on in the film industry. Literally cold calling. I didn't even know this was a business technique at the time. I was just motivated. I was like, yeah, I'm going to make these calls. So I started cold calling producers, directors. Some of them answered, some of them didn't. And then I finally got a hold of, I remember looking up like who were producers of Tyler Perry Studios at one point. So I looked them up and I ended up calling one. And then maybe he was blown away by my ambition. It called me in for an interview and I got my first film production job. I was his personal assistant. Learned so much in that position. Learned how a producer moves. I watched things. I was able to interact with the actors. This is how I met my favorite singer of all time. I was able to work with Brandy. So that was great. Oh my God, I love Brandy, by the way. Lauren London, I was able to work with her. I gained so much respect for her after working on that project. So it was just dope. That project ran for a few months and then I went a few more months and I couldn't find my next gig. And I'm just like, what? So then I found my next gig. It was a show called Finding Carter with MTV. Worked on that one. I did what's called locations, where our job was we would go out and find different locations where we would film. I mean, like that, we had to get the permit. So if you see people out and about in movies, walking on the street or doing different things like that, you generally have to get approval through the state in order to do locations. So I did locations. Needless to say, lost that job. I worked on that production for about 3 months and it was supposed to be 4 months. I lost it like a month before and I ended up shooting my last production or my last short film I had shot around that time. But that was my last project. Still to this day, that was our last project. Well, Danny, why was the last project you worked on? Because I think even mentally, I kind of wasn't in it. Because what I learned at the time, it was still a job. And why was that important? Because in all of that I just told you, as far as my experience with the film industry, my brother passed away. My brother had passed away from diabetes. From January, he had fell into a coma. Then he had passed away that following February, like a few days before his 25th birthday. So with my brother passing away, it weighed heavy on me because in my mind, I'm chasing this dream that I've always looked forward to. I'm chasing this dream. I have people even disrespecting me on set or just treating me a certain way because they want to get their next production, like whatever their motive was behind it. It was a very uncomfortable sacrifice. And when I say uncomfortable sacrifices, when my brother fell into the coma that January, I had to be very meticulous with my money because I'm working contract jobs. What I'm seeing as a dream, I'm working contract jobs. So I had to hold on to the money that I saved because I didn't know when my next gig was coming. So I didn't go home. When I knew he fell into a coma, I didn't go home. And that really bothered me. And then bothered me to the point, and I'm like, yo, this is what people are going through every day in life. We're chasing dreams or we're living life and we don't have the finances to make the important decisions that we have to make. So after I lost that last film job, and I was just like, yo, this is still a job. And it's a job that's very inconsistent and it's controlling my money. Keyword is money, finance. So I went back to school, studied finance, got my graduate certificate in financial analysis. And then I ended up finishing, trying to figure out exactly what I wanted to do. I thought about doing investment banking on Wall Street because I knew that they made a lot of money because obviously at this point, I'm very money motivated. But then I started hearing a lot of people say that these people that's working on Wall Street in investment banking, it is a very stressful job. You make a lot of money, but it's very stressful. And I was just like, I don't really want that kind of stress. So what do I want to do? And then from there on, I was like, I want to help people with their finances. I want to help people that's in the same position that I was in, to where they have to make tough decisions because, or they can't make tough decisions because of lack of finances. So I ended up going out and getting my financial licenses, and obviously started helping people. But then, I mean, that's a whole nother story for another day as far as my entrepreneurship journey. And I do want to share with you guys some things that I've learned on my entrepreneurship journey. It's been 6 years since I've been licensed. Do have my insurance and my investment licenses. But also the point of the podcast is, to bring on different entrepreneurs, because I truly feel like no matter what you're doing, people say that you gotta love what you're doing. And I think to an extent, that's true, but I don't think that's always the case. Like everything that you really love, I don't know if that has to be your business, because some people, when they put the business element in it, it takes away from what they love. But you do have to have some motivation to an extent, to where whatever you're doing, if you do decide to dabble into entrepreneurship, you do have to have motivation. It could be love, or it could just be motivation to where you enjoy doing it enough to where you can create your legacy for your family. Um, so some of the tips that I learned is build relationships and get to know people. Um, People are so afraid of sharing ideas and thoughts and different things like that, because they feel like someone is going to steal their idea. To be honest, y'all, a lot of things aren't protected. Nike, for instance, was it Nike or the Jordan brand? The Jordan brand is like incorporated in all kinds of they're incorporating almost every country except for, I think, like China or something. Like it's something weird like that. Don't quote me on the story, but the point is that it's somewhere to where they didn't do their proper legal stuff, to where it's still like a million or $1 billion brand somewhere else, because they didn't do it in that country. So a company of that size, they're protected everywhere else, but there's one place that they're able to legally make money. So you want to build relationships, because being able to talk to people, you don't know who they have connections to. They can have connections to that right person that can get you on the path to where you want to go. Don't be afraid to speak up. Building a relationship is literally like, not being pushy. It's really finding what interests a person. How can you help a person? Because one of the things in my entrepreneurship journey is gratitude and giving. We have to be thankful for where we're at in life right now. We have to definitely be thankful for where we're at right now, because we can be in so many worse places. Even when life is coming down on us, we could be thankful, because when life is coming down on us, believe it or not, it's providing us lessons that we would have not gotten unless we were put in that position. So definitely be grateful for life, where you're at right now, the things that you have right now, but also be giving. A lot of people, I'm learning, I mean, it's quite human to be an extent of selfish. You're putting yourself first because you're still thinking about your survival, your existence, things like that. But you have to be willing to give. And people think that giving is always monetary and it's always given to the homeless person on the corner. If that's what you want to do, fine, give. And I always tell people there's a difference between giving and enabling, right? That's another conversation, right? But be okay with giving. And sometimes giving is advice, giving is your time, giving is resources. Be okay with giving. That is really the extent of building relationships. Because I remember one of my mentors told me that as you get older, your friends really aren't supposed to decrease, they're supposed to increase. And I took that as they're increasing, because the more you're giving, the more you're helping people, the bigger the impact that you're making on life. So building relationships is definitely one of the things that I make. I've learned entrepreneurship, and it has gotten me into circles and meeting people, just because of opening your mouth and being comfortable with that. Is find out what matters to you most. I truly believe that entrepreneurship is for everyone. Should everyone become entrepreneurs? They don't have to be, but is it for everyone? Yes, if you want to make the decision. But it all comes down to what's important to you. Because a lot of people are money motivated and they want to make a lot of money. But in my experience, money is not always enough of a motivation for people. Because if that was the case, the people that's claiming to be money motivated, the lottery wouldn't be their only means of wealth. If they were truly money motivated, then they will do whatever it takes. Some people do it illegally, and then some people do it legally, where they will do whatever it takes to find out how can they get the amount of money that they want, right? That's, to me, that's what true money motivation is. Everyone's not money motivated. Some people, they are travel motivated. They want to see the world. They want to see different cultures. Some people are family motivated. They want to spend more time with their family, be it to watch their kids grow up or spend more time with their spouse or their partner, right? Some people are, you know, environment motivated, or they want to be able to meet more people, and they love the company of more people. So everyone has their different level of motivations. It's just, if you strive to be an entrepreneur or even in finance, you have to understand what is most important to you, right? And then one of the things I always say is that people should definitely have a financial budget. People should have a financial budget, right? Because you got to know what's coming in and what's going out. Yeah, you're making money, but you want to make sure that you're not overspending it every month, right? Definitely got to have your financial budget, but you should also have your dream budget. Like, why are you working this job? Why are you an entrepreneur? What things matter most in your life? If you had this dream budget, if you truly had this dream lifestyle, one, you got to believe in yourself, right? But with this dream lifestyle, what matters most to you? I know one of the things that I like on my dream budget is I want a massage every week, from the best massage person where they know what they're doing to where they're getting my body right. You know, something as simple as that. That's what's on my dream budget. What's important to you? Do you have a dream car, dream house? There's nothing wrong with having aspirations and wanting, you know, these material things and be able to drive your own car, because the beauty about driving like your dream car is an experience that you would never get in a regular car. They're the same thing as far as getting you from A to B, right? But it's the experience sometimes that people look for. So what is that dream budget for yourself, right? And then you only have 24 hours in a day. Okay. No matter what we try to do with time, you only have 24 hours in a day. So you can only do so much in 24 hours. Now, the way to leverage that 24 hours is automation. The beauty about technology today is that you can automate so many different things. You know, you can automate emails, you can automate tasks, you know, so many different things to help you become a lot more effective and efficient in your job. Automation. But even still, automation doesn't truly make you free. Duplication makes you free, is where, as an entrepreneur, duplication, where if you're hiring somebody or you're hiring multiple people, or in the network marketing space, you're recruiting different people, you're able to duplicate yourself to where you're having this passive income coming in. My dog, oh my God. And then sales is not, hold on 1 second. All right, we're back here. He's done barking. But yeah, so sales is not a pushy process. Sales is an educational process. I think that most people are afraid of sales, to get into sales, which I feel like if you're not an entrepreneur, then sales is the next way to go, which is doctors sell and surgeons sell surgeries, right? They have to sell you on the idea that they can do their job and make you a lot more healthy. Lawyers sell their perspective, their side of the story, which you got the defense and you have the prosecutor. They have to sell the jury, or they have to sell the judge on if you're innocent or if you're not, who's in the right, who's in the wrong. That's all sales process. Everyone that typically are in sales, if you're in a company that has great commission, you can generate typically a lot of income, right? But sales is not a pushy process. And unfortunately, most people that get into sales, some people are just naturally good at it, right? But most people are not born with it. So sales is a learning process. Just like it is a learning process for your client, it is a learning process for you. Unfortunately, most people start off pushy because they want to make that sale. That's how they make money. Hey, I was the same exact way, where I'm like, I got to make this money, so get XYZ. And that's the unfortunate part of getting into sales. But in reality, sales is not a pushy process. It's an educational process. And unfortunately, most people aren't going to learn the first time around. They're going to learn maybe if you hit them up a few more times down the road. I think that the average sale, they say it takes place between the fifth and seventh time of reaching out to someone, because people think about just everything that you learn in life. You don't always learn it, on the first time. It takes multiple times repetition for you to really get it. So understand that sales is a learning process. It's a learning process for you to be great at your craft, which is you can learn by YouTube, books, different things like that. But also the client in front of you is you have to be able to teach them why the product that you have could really make a difference in their life, right? And everybody is not going to be a client. You don't want everybody to be a client. And that, I guess more so in the end, your success is attached to your personal growth. I think that the biggest benefit that I see within myself is that the maturity that I have, how far I've came maturity wise. Certain things doesn't bother me as much as they used 2 years ago. And I've accepted some level of peace. And then I'm not perfect. I definitely still need to focus on positive vibes, positive energy, because there's still some times that I still focus on a negative, because it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to meditate. It's a lot easier to have marinate, not meditate. It's a lot easier to marinate on negative things and to be able to share it with people, get advice, different things like that. So I still have my work to do, but still it's a process. Personal growth and personal development over time is a process. And you all should really be taking the time out is, how can I be a better human being? We sometimes make life a lot more stressful because we focus on the negatives. We focus on what we don't have versus focusing on what we do have and what we can do. Because we can only control so much, y'all. And then at the end of the day, we all have this experience on this planet. We all have our experience of life, and we're able to control that narrative. So how do you want to control your narrative? What's important to you? Because at the end of the day, this is your life. And we shouldn't be living a life of lack, what we can and can't do. A lot of people have settled in a mindset of lack, when I just truly feel like with life, there's an abundance of different things that we have access to if we put our time into it. So again, and your story exists. Your story exists. You just want to be the one to tell it. Start telling your story. Start being your positive story, and documenting within a process is how you tell it. Anyway, this is Coach Danny Renee, where your network is your net worth, and I am out of here.